really, when you look at how long the Mountie was the Mountie, it was kind of a short period of time, but it had such staying power. People love that character so much or hate that character so much, depending on what side of the fence you're looking at it from.
Mostly hated.
What do you think made the Mountie stand out so much amongst so many colorful wrestlers at the time?
Wow, that's a great question. And you know what? There's so many things I'd like to say when you say about the Mountie. You know, I think of the first time I did the first vignette there when I was on a horse. And I don't know if you remember that first vignette where I'm in Quebec, I'm on my horse in a park, and there's this car that comes beside me, and there's two Americans that are lost, and they want to go back to the States. And I'm sitting on my horse like this, and then this guy's with his girlfriend, so he pulls his window down beside me, and he says, excuse me, officer, excuse me, officer. And I look down from my horse, and I look down at him, and I said, I'm not an officer, I'm the Mountie. So the guy looks at me in his car like he's all afraid, and his girlfriend's like this. And then he looks at his girlfriend and he says, boy, I got a wacko here. So then he turns back up to me and he says, excuse me, Mr. Mountie, can you tell me how we get back to the U.S.? We're lost. And then slowly got off of my horse with a cocky face, and I told him to follow me to get out of his car. And when I told him to get out of the car with my ugly face, you know, he looked at his girlfriend like, should I? And she says, come on, chicken, get out. So then he gets out of the car and he follows me, and I bring him in front of my horse. And I take the jaw of my horse like this, the face of my horse, and I put it up like this. And I tell the guy, I said, you see this part of my horse? It always points to Canada. I said, come here. And then I went in the back of my horse, and I lifted the tail up of the horse, and you could see the real donut there. And the camera was right in. I said, you see this part of my horse? It always points to the USA. You know, and the guy just looked at me afraid, jumped in his car, and he spinned his wheels, and he took off. And from that day on, the Mountie, you know, there's two things that happen. A lot of people love to hate the Mountie, but a lot of the real Mounties hated me, you know. And so I did this thing for about a year. It only lasted like a year and a half. And the real Mounties, they put a lawsuit, an injunction against the WWE, WWF or WWE at the time.
Yeah.
And they banned me from Canadian TV.